All right, reefers, the continued journey through California has brought us to yet again another beautiful tank. Gary, thank you so much for having us into your home. Thank you for allowing me to check out this beautiful tank. Let's get right into it. How big is this system? What's the gallons? And what are we talking about for dimensions?
Display tank is 300 gallon, 7 feet long by 30 by 30, plus some, plus little. So overall water volume is about 400.
And you talked about it before off camera, you showed me down below. We're talking a very easy system, right? Very simple, straightforward. You like to keep it as simple as possible, dosing your calcium, getting your alkalinity into the system, magnesium as well. But you're trying to keep it as simple as straightforward because this system's pretty old at this point now. How long has this tank been up and rolling?
13 years straight without draining water, same rock, same sand, pretty much same equipment, which I, of course, during 13 years course have to change.
Some things will change,
yes.
Right, of course.
But basic is still the same. 13 years old, tank, never been drained, never been changed anything.
A lot of SPS in the system. Are you a stickhead at heart? Do you like the soft corals too? I see some jawbreakers in the tank. You got LPS as well. It's kind of a mixed reef, but over on the top of the scape, you are chock full of some amazing sticks. We're over here drooling over the sticks you have in your tank. Is SPS kind of your major thing you like in the system, or are you like kind of someone that touches on every single group of corals?
Well, of course, SPS acropora is my main strain of corals, which I like. Besides, I do have couple LPS, couple chalices, couple mushrooms, but main attraction for me is, of course, acropora corals.
You said also recently some of the smooth skins are starting to become your favorites, yes. Right? You're starting to pick those up. What's kind of starting to interest you those? You showed off one of those OG pieces to me and Frank, a really cool one. What was the name of that one again? The Avalanche?
Aries Avalanche.
Aries Avalanche. Beautiful piece. A lot of cool smooth skins. You've definitely picked out some choice ones, no doubt.
Yes. Since space is limited, I went probably through the all stages. I collect I do have old school corals and more modern. I used to, of course, it was a time when everybody was crazy about tenuses, and I do have a couple tenuses, but lately I developed taste for smooth skin. Starting building my collection slowly, have about 6, 7, 8 corals, smooth skin. That's what is right now for me more I'm into.
I'm sure people have seen it by now if they've been watching this tank going back and forth. A lot of action, you've got a lot of fish, and your wrasse collection is amazing to die for. The Hawaiian Wrasses, you've got some just an unbelievable group. You got 2 males, a female, you've got the Lenardi, it goes on. And what's cool about your tank too, as I've sat here, as I've looked at it, more fish have continued to show up and shown themselves. Let's talk a little bit about the fish selection you went with. I see some working fish like tangs, the copper band, but what made you decide on all of those wrasses, your collection, and how did we get to this point of fish collection?
I choose my fish pretty carefully, since again, space is limited. Right. I do have working fish, like you say. I have diamond goby for sand, I have filefish, tongues, and I've been always fan of wrasses. And the more difficult, the type which is more difficult to keep is more challenging for me. That I'm kind of proud that I keep successfully pretty rare wrasses like Femininus, Lenardi, Chuatiras, Hawaiian Wrasse, and they seems to be doing fine.
What are you doing for feeding these fish? Obviously they're nice and happy and healthy. They seem nice and full. What's your feeding schedule looking like? What are you feeding the tank?
Once a day, mostly frozen food, PMICs or something like that. Of course, nori for tongues, and by the way, all other fish like to eat nori too. That.
Monkey see, monkey do, right?
Yeah,
they
exactly.
Do exactly the same thing.
Exactly the same. So mostly it's frozen food, once a day.
Looking at the tank, you've got a lot of fish, and I saw sneaking around in there a big old sohal. It seems like it plays nice with all the other tanks and all the other fish. Do you see any aggression coming out of the community here in your tank, or is it due to the fact that it's such a natural scape now? There's a lot of breaking the line of vision for these fish. Probably you're feeding them well enough. So yes. What's kind of helping keeping this community nice and tight knit?
First of all, my rock work set up the way I have tons of hiding space, crevices, caves, all this stuff. Each and every fish at night has own place to live. And I try to keep not aggressive fish, but again, you bring up the sohal. Sohal is my older fish, been with me for good 12 years or something. And no really aggression toward newest edition. For some reason, because maybe of good feeding and natural reefscape. Besides this, I have a couple yellow tanks which been with me over 10 years, black tank. Oh, I have a lot of fish which been with me for a long time.
I didn't even realize you had the 3 yellow tanks too. I thought you only had 1, and then out of nowhere, the 3 of them jumped out of nowhere. But a beautiful fish collection, like we've talked about before. The black tang too. Everything is really, really nice. Kind of cool too to see a lot of fish that some people can't even get in anymore right now, right? Those Hawaiian Flashers, can't even get them in hand. So really cool to be able to have the time here today for me to be able to check them out, show them off on the YouTube channel, and share them here.
Yes. I was lucky enough to acquire the Hawaiian Flame Wrasse right before the Hawaiian got banned. And they
Perfect timing.
Perfect timing. And they lived with me happily ever after. Yeah.
Did you, when you originally got them, was it 3 females or was it the 2 males and the female, or did they transition at all?
It was 1 male and 2 females.
Interesting. So one did transition
one
into
did
a male.
transition in my system. I saw it. It took probably a couple of years, maybe more.
Interesting.
Slowly turned into, now I have 2 males and 1 female.
I've heard that before, that the transition of fish is a really interesting thing to see over the course of time. So cool to hear that you were able to experience that here in your tank.
Yes.
And then for the corals, are you doing any specific feeding or the corals, or is it just your fish that's providing the food, or are you just limiting it to strictly what's in the water column for the corals? Or are you doing any specific coral foods?
No specific coral foods whatsoever, just whatever fish can provide. For the corals, corals are happy with my lightening plus nutrients what fish can provide. No coral food.
You brought up lighting. What are you running for lights up top, and what's the duration of the schedule we're running? It seems like right now it's more of a little bit of white and blue. Do you like to go, we were talking about it earlier, the Gucci mode, go in that full blue mode?
No,
or what kind of is your lighting schedule, and what are you doing for your lighting?
My lighting consists of 6 Radeon Gen 4, supplement with the T5. T5 very short period of time, about 4 hours. Main job doing the Radeons definitely. They on about 10 hours. I don't like blue. This tank is right now is about 14-16K. I don't like blue color. I know it brings more pop, but it's not natural for me. That's why I stick with 14-16. Late at night, light is turning last half an hour to blue. Then I can see those pop up, which I don't see in 14-16. But coral seems to be happy under this spectrum.
Kevin talks about it a lot, one of the owners at Top Shelf, that your SPS in general, Acropora, it's really good that they get that natural spectrum, that full Kelvin during the day. And I will say, when it comes to your fish, I think it's really nice that you get to see them in that full spectrum, that natural lighting. Also, the dosing, we talked a little bit about earlier. Let's talk about your dosing schedule, what you're dosing, and also your maintenance for the system. You said you did water changes for the tank. What salt are you using? What's your maintenance looking like?
I'm a strong believer in water changes. I'm doing this from day 1. I change 20% every 2 weeks with the Red Sea Coral Pro Salt. I do it religiously. Dosing, main 3, calcium, alkalinity, and magnesium. That's about it. No, anything else is dosing to my tank. I do once in a while ICP test, and it's always shows all the trace elements in a acceptable range. Probably because of frequent water changes.
We heard earlier on when we were hanging out here that there was a time that you were actually thinking about stepping away from the hobby. This tank is gorgeous to show, you know, that you decided to continue on with it and push through that, and now look at this beautiful piece of the ocean that you have sitting in your home. Talk a little bit about kind of how you worked through that. What was going on? What kind of got you to that point where you were wanting to step away? I mean, I'm kind of a shock, I'm sure, to a lot of people watching at home that a tank like this is coming from someone that was thinking, maybe I want to step away from reefing.
No. 100,000 times I heard that nothing good happened fast in this hobby, and I'm living proof of it. Tank was running for 2 years, and since I want Acropora corals, probably the most difficult corals to keep, I want Acropora dominate tank. 2 years, it was nightmare for me, of course, chemical warfare, whatever, tank getting mature, and I was about to give up. But luckily, I have a couple friends which talked me out of it. Let's see, maybe 1 more month, maybe 3-4 months. Keep it doing what you're doing, and miracle probably happened. That does exist. After 2.5 years, I stopped losing corals. Probably of maturity of my tank, I gained more knowledge how to keep those corals, and after 2.5 years, tanks start to do much better. I stopped losing corals. They start growing, and I was that close to throw the white towel.
I'm lucky enough to see your tank, Art's, Dave's. Now we're gonna see your guys' tight little knit reefing community, and I have to say, seeing you guys all kind of enjoy reefing together, I feel like you're right. Banding together with a group of people that have a like hobby. If someone's struggling, it's kind of nice to be able to bounce those problems and questions off of them.
Yes.
They might have an answer, and also it's good to have support. There's a lot of people that don't truly understand how much we love these fish tanks, right? How in depth we get into our minds with it, and so it's nice to have those like-minded people that can kind of help you out. Looking at the tank 2 parameters, I'm kind of curious to hear the numbers. Are you shooting for any specific numbers, or are you just kind of looking at the tank? If you see something, then you'll make the change?
Of course, I do testing usually once a week. If something goes south, then I test more often, but usually it's once a week. I keep everything in acceptable ranges. Alkalinity is about 8 to 9, magnesium 1300. Nitrates between 10 and 15 parts per million, PO4 0.1.15. Since my tank is mature and I have strong light, strong flow, I can keep higher nutrients in my tank compared to newer hobbies.
Flow, obviously you have the closed loop system going on, so there's some good amount of flow coming through. I see the MPs on the side too.
Yes.
Anything else you're running for flow, some gyres or anything else, or is it mainly the MPs and what you got going on with the system itself and its turnover?
Pretty strong flow in a tank. I have a very strong return pump plus dedicated separate pump for closed loop. Plus I have 2 MP60 and MP40, which give me plenty of flow. And my Acropora seems to like it.
Definitely. So over in the corner, tucked on the side, you have a Frag tank too. So
yes.
It's gotten to the point, all of these colonies, these corals are growing, which is a great thing, right? And you're starting to frag them up. You talked to me earlier about kind of the reefer's code, going back and forth, trading with your friends,
right.
Doing that, and also trading into your local fish store. You've gotten to that point where you made that Frag tank. Have you thought at all about expanding the system, or is it mainly just the Frag system is the only extension you want to do to your reef tank?
This is the only extension, no more. When 13 years ago, when I started my tank, and first animals which I added up was snails. Every day I come to the tank, it was only rocks and snails, no corals, no fish. And every day I counted all my snails if they're intact. Now my corals are growing, and I have to set up a frag tank, which tied up to a main system. It's not a separate, it's...
Oh, okay, so it's all in one connected system.
It's one connected system.
Beautiful.
Same light, Radeon Gen 4, and same water chemistry, absolutely same. So this is the product of growing corals. They start to shading each other, they start to warfare, and I have to set up a separate frag tank.
We talked about the great late Jake Adams. He was an awesome influence on the hobby. Hopefully something I can try and bring back to, you know, bring in this content and videos to people, sharing these, you know, tanks with everyone's knowledge. Something he used to do that I really loved and appreciated was he asked every single individual when they'd come in their home a tip or trick for a reef keeper, a new reef keeper. What would you say to anyone wanting to get into saltwater, or how are they're beginners in saltwater? What would you say for them looking at their tanks now? You know, what's a tip of advice you would say? You know, looking at this tank, I would love to, you know, get your advice, right? Your system's beautiful, right? So what would you say to those people?
Patience, patience, and patience. I'm living proof of it. Stick with the plan. Don't jump from from this to this. Keep it simple. And again, patience. And I'm sure your tank gonna be awesome.
Well, Gary, thank you so much for letting us come into your house. I can't wait to get my hands on my camera and start filming this tank, because you have a beautiful collection of fish, corals, and all of that. This has been a lot of fun. I want to say thank you so
guys
much
for having me.
Absolutely.
And I'm really proud that
for sure. This is a tank well worthy of coming onto the YouTube channel.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
If you guys have hung out all the way till the end, I want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to drop a comment down below your favorite part of Gary's tank. If you haven't done so already, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on any future uploads.